Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Create and Grow Your Dream Business podcast, where today we are going to be talking about taking care of yourself across the board. Now, before we jump in too deep, because I can guarantee after this episode, you're going to have a major transformation. I have to tell you guys that I have a special guest, Mr. Charles Rose, and I'm super excited to bring him on with you because I know that you're going to learn something from him because I'm excited to start learning something from him. Charles, welcome on.
Thank you so much, Breye'l. It's such a pleasure to be here, and I'm so grateful to you. Thank you.
Yes, it is a pleasure to have you here. So, tell the people about yourselves. Like, what's the interesting thing that they should know before you give them all the jewels?
Right, right, right. Most interesting thing they should know. I think it turns out that taking care of yourself is one of the most critical things you can do as a business person, and it took me decades and losing millions of dollars to learn that lesson. So that's what I'd start with. Is
Yeah.
turns out taking care of yourself and learning how to kind of be your own best friend and your own parent and your own nurturer is crucial. It's not
Right.
just a nice little optional thing. It's crucial.
Yeah. It's so crucial. And so I know some about you, and I would love for you to share this with the people about how you started in business and technology and how you got this vibrational frequency from your dad and how that was an
Absolutely.
inspiration. And then there was a shift. So tell the people.
Big time. Thank you. So when I was 6 years old, I was born in North Carolina. My father got elected to the U.S. Congress. And so we moved to Northern Virginia, and that's where I grew up after first grade. And so one of the things my dad was interested in was computers and technology and the future. And so he became chairman of the House Administration Committee, and he ultimately became the gatekeeper for all the tech on Capitol Hill. And so when people wanted to sell their computers to Congress, they had to get on the approved list. And to do that, they had to go through my dad. And so they would send samples of their technology to him, and he didn't necessarily know what to do with it. So he'd give it to his like 14-year-old son to play with. And so I got a very early education in technology. Another thing, one day, Apple Computer came to the Hill to pitch Congress on using Apple computers in their office. So Steve Jobs came up. My dad was like, "Do you want to talk to Steve Jobs?" And after my head exploded, because I had an Apple II Plus in the basement that I played with every single day, I was like, oh my God. And so he's like, okay, you're going to have 15 minutes, be respectful, have some questions already prepared. So I'm like, yes, sir, yes, sir. And so I do all that. And it blew my mind. Like his passion, his enthusiasm, his knowledge. I'd never spoken to anyone in my life at that point that had all that going on. And it inspired me to become a software developer. And that was kind of my first career. So from 18 on for like maybe 10 years, I was a programmer. I wrote commercial software. I wrote some books on programming and software development, particularly with Novell and Microsoft back in the day.
Mhm.
And then after that, I started to get a little bored. Programming is very often about solving mysteries. Why is this thing not working the way I thought it should be? And then at that point, I thought, well, I want to take on another mystery, which is how do businesses work? How can I solve the puzzle of creating a business that's profitable, that's functional, that's, what I want it to be?
Right.
So I did that with a few companies. The last one was a fintech company, and we were kind of like an Amazon. We came out of there on the same year that Amazon started, and we processed credit card transactions for software authors. And that was huge. And we did about 200,000 in sales the first year, maybe 2 million the second. We were on schedule to do like 10 million the third year when our biggest competitor, Digital River in the Midwest, called and said, "Hey, we want to buy you."
Mm.
So we negotiated a deal. We sold the company for $10 million. And I thought, this is great. I've made it. I've done it. And that lasted for maybe, a month or so. And
Mhm.
I realized that first night when I had sold my company, I gotten the news that we'd completed. I was all alone. I'll never forget that night. I sat by myself. I'd had a Corona to drink. I'd gotten a pizza and I watched the movie Uncle Buck. And I was so lonely. It was like, is this it? And it's like trying to get more and more excited about the money. And it's like, I didn't have a girlfriend. I'd kind of alienated my family. I hadn't been working I had no idea who I was. And I certainly didn't know how to love who I was because I didn't know me.
Yeah.
And so I was living in around Santa Cruz, California. And a friend introduced me to a woman who became my coach in San Francisco. And that woman, Dorothy, changed my life. You
Yeah.
know, she showed me who I am. It was a lot more about meaning of life type stuff. And what do I want to do now? And she asked me if I had heard the call to service. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Here it
And it's
is.
taken me a long time to figure out what that meant. And I have. And what that means is a calling to serve others. And for me, it discovered that that's where the real satisfaction in life is.
Right.
That's where the joy is. I had thought it was in achievement, and I really wanted to make my dad proud. That was what was a big driver of mine. Well, I did, and he was happy. And that wasn't as satisfying as I think I'd hoped it would be. And that was a big deal.
That was a big deal. That was a very big deal. Oh my gosh. I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, bring them. Let's do it.
Oh my goodness, I have so many thoughts because you said you're just an amazing person. I just have to
Oh,
tell you
God bless.
that.
So are
Like
you.
anybody that is in connection with you, and I'm so happy and honored to be connected with you because
Same here, Breye'l.
just from your own like passion and
Mm,
um like desire to like change even though you've reached a particular goal. I think that
yes.
that is the part that makes you attractive as a leader, as like a business owner, is that you see, okay, in a world full of money, in a
Yes.
world full of all of these things, you could not deny the feeling that you had even when you reached the goal. And oftentimes, as business owners, and even as people who work in the corporate field, we're so like money driven, goal attached because of the
Yes.
society that we live in. But then
Yes.
again, you get right there and in that moment. I did recognize that you said that the euphoria lasted for about a month or two.
It's kind of the Christmas morning effect, I call it.
Yeah, and that's something powerful, right? Because if
Yeah.
you never really lived in that realm of like being that attractive to money, because of course
Hmm.
that was like you became very attractive to
Yes.
that
Yes.
level of abundance, you could think that that's it. But then, like you said, when the real things matter, like who do I have to share this corona with? I
That's
have
it.
all this money. Who am I going to take on a
That's it.
trip with me to spend the money?
That's it. What I see is that so much today is this, we're working towards evolving, I think, as humanity, but there's still, so we've got all these things like meditate and, stretch and do kind of a devotional practice, but
Mhm.
yet we're still so driven by commercialism. Like I used, excuse me, I used law of attraction. I kept visualizing the outcome. I kept visualizing driving what was my dream car. I was
Yeah,
driving a 13-year-old an old Volkswagen at the time, and I was visualizing this amazing sports car.
yeah,
Well, I got it. And it was like, but the lesson is sure, law of attraction works, but
right.
that doesn't mean it's what is going to be satisfying or fulfilling to you.
Oh my goodness. That's it. You said something else too. I want to jump on it while it's
Yeah,
hot.
yeah, yeah, please.
You said that you realized that your father was interested in the future,
Yes,
right? And I think that that is a shift that a lot of us as leaders can start to have is to be interested in the future, but with the passion, the enthusiasm, and the knowledge of the
yes.
lessons that we've learned in the past to ensure
Yes.
that our future is very much so in connection with like our purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was my coach. She said purpose is everything. It's
Yeah,
your why. And I love that Simon Sinek has devoted so much of his energy to raising our awareness around the importance of purpose.
yeah,
Because we would look at purpose in everything.
yeah,
What's the purpose of my career? What's the purpose of my relationship with the divine or with my partner or with my children?
yeah.
And we look at all that and it's like within purpose is well, not only why am I here, but what am I giving to the relationship? And what is it that I expect and want to receive from the relationship?
Very much so. And I feel like that goes right into, like you said, your coach taught you answering the call to service, right?
Yes. Yes.
I believe, and I can even remember when I was like in elementary school, the thought of becoming an entrepreneur, maybe it was middle school, the thought
Yes.
of becoming an entrepreneur, I could not think about what it is that I would sell. Like, I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
like what the frick would I even oh, right.
Yes.
But when you're walking in purpose, right? When you are
And
in the space of, as I'm finishing up my book titled Create and Grow Your Dream Confidence, Becoming
I
Intentional on
love it.
Purpose.
I love it.
Yes, it's the intentionality of the desire of knowing more about your purpose, right? I feel like purpose and confidence, they coincide with each other in
Yes.
reference to taking care of yourself because when you work on the softness within yourself, and I
Yes.
actually am taking this from you, the concept of software development as I go into more corporate offices and I
Mhm.
help engage their employees and boost their morale. A
Yes.
training that I'm going to create that's going to be inspired by you is like developing your software.
I love it.
Because it's
Yep.
about solving the mystery of who we are individually. You
Yes.
can go to a job and you can get a paycheck. You can be the CEO, you can be the janitor. But if deep down you're not in alignment with purpose and your confidence for even being
Yes.
in that space in life, it's
Yes.
no way you'll be engaged enough to be able to move forward on journey. And
You
you
got it.
may move forward every day because the time will pass you by,
Yes.
but will you have taken care of yourself across the board?
Amen. Exactly. Exactly. And confidence, like, what is confidence? To me, it's knowing yourself. It's
Yeah.
believing in yourself. But in order to believe in yourself, you really have to know you.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that anything in my life up to like my 30s, mid 30s, had taught me how to know me,
Mm,
you know? And it's like there starts to be a place where you start to listen to you and you start to develop a relationship. Like, how do I know me? And it
yeah.
starts by listening.
Yeah, I believe it starts by listening, and I believe also that life is about seasons,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
like a new podcast series that I'm creating is about growing from within.
Love it.
And Jim Rohn has written a book where he speaks about like the seasons of life. And
Yes.
oftentimes we forget that just like outside, you have like summer, winter, spring, and fall, and that it's not always wins the same way
Hmm.
it's not always lost. So if we can be more like farmers and be
Yes.
able to appreciate the season and learn the lesson that's meant for in that season as we move
Hmm.
forward in life, when it's time for you to get to know yourself because that's something that you do all the time. You don't just make
Absolutely.
the decision like, "Oh, I know me and I'll be the same me in 20 years."
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? You have to
Yeah.
have the desire to get to know you very often. So if you can see the previous seasons as lessons and the new seasons as opportunities,
Yes.
then getting to know you, it just becomes a little bit more easy because you know that you're taking the knowledge from the past and applying that to who you can now become as you continue inside your purpose.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. And to me, in order to be able to allow myself to go through those seasons, I have to have patience. And patience has been one of the hardest things in my life for me to have because patience takes trust. And when you've had people in your past that have broken your trust, it's kind of hard to trust that everything's going to be okay, which is
Yeah.
what you have to have to get through those seasons and say, okay, well, it's summer now, fall's coming, winter's coming, spring is coming, and summer's coming. Like, and I'm okay, you know, I'm all right. That's
Yeah.
that's it sounds so simple, but
It's
it's like
it's so
that's
hard.
taken so long to get to a place of like, it's okay. I can let the seasons come. I don't have to have everything. My dad was so impatient. We'd go to a store, a hardware store. He'd get in one line, he'd want me to get in the other line, and whoever got to the cashier first would call the other. It was like we did everything that way. So patience has been tough.
Patience is tough and it's very much so. I just think about how I did that at the grocery store the other day.
Yeah.
So my husband like, "Get over there, and I'm gonna get in this line."
Yeah.
But patience does take trust, and I had not thought about that until you
Yeah.
said that just then because I think there goes that that segue into the conversation of resentment, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that the trust that's needed for everyone to have the patience to get to their particular manifestation that they're looking for
Yes.
it may be tied to some level of resentment where you may have desired it at one point in time, and for whatever reason, it was
Yep.
not there. So now it
Yes.
feels like I need to go ahead and get there because once I get there,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be good. And it's like, yeah, you may be good in that area, but other things are gonna pop up just because that's how it
Yep.
works in life.
Yep. You're hitting all the right important points, and I love it. So resentment is key. One of the first things I do when I take on a one-on-one client is we start looking at, well, what is it that you're carrying with you in terms of resentments? As a coping mechanism and a survival skill, we'll take kind of the traumas and the things that we go through in our childhood, and we'll just kind of push them to the side a little bit. Most of us will. I did.
Yeah.
And over time, that stuff accumulates. And over time, those resentments start to cloud our vision. So, tying it back to being an entrepreneur, you need to be clear and clean so you don't have a bias that supports some trauma that you had in your childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, cleaning all that up amounts to going through forgiveness. And sometimes that's a scary word for people because they think that makes them vulnerable to re-injury. And that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is a letting go while still protecting yourself, of course, but also saying, well, what did that situation teach me? I must have learned something from that. Because very often we'll feel like, well, that was wasted time. I was just going through being victimized. And it's like, no, there can be some very powerful gifts that come from that.
For
And the
sure.
last piece of the forgiveness process was taught was to look at gratitudes. What can I be grateful for now that I'm on the other side of this?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, so powerful.
Yeah.
This is so powerful because one thing that I've learned in my own personal journey, because when I started off coaching, I thought I wanted
Yes.
to help women like financially, like with assets and liabilities, because
Yeah.
I did not come from a lot of money growing up. So
Hmm.
once I realized, okay, I have to learn how to manage my finances, and there's nothing wrong with me, and I can
Yeah.
teach other women to be empowered to
Absolutely.
do the same. I
Yep.
realized what I really was helping women with is your confidence. That's how I got to this phase of
Yes.
becoming a confidence coach. And what I recognize is that forgiveness, it takes confidence to be able to release your perspective and
Yes.
get into alignment with there's a gift
Yes. God,
waiting
yes.
for you because you
Yes.
went through that particular situation. And until you're willing to go
Yes.
back over there and address that, get it out of over there,
Yes.
you're going to go through life. And yeah, again, you're going to be moving forward, but you
Yeah.
may not be moving forward in purpose. Like I never thought, again, when I
Totally.
was younger, that I would be a confidence coach, let alone even as I moved up in entrepreneurship, I'm
Yes.
still in a space of like needing to remind myself and like look
Yes.
and see like Brielle, people pay lots of money to boost their confidence, right? Like
Absolutely.
you
Yes.
can't go buy this on the shelf at Walmart.
Yes. Exactly.
And just because we don't see people doing what it is that we're doing, it
Yes.
doesn't mean that our skills and our gifts and our talents are not valuable. If
Yes.
anything, they are truly valuable, but it goes back to working on yourself across the board.
It sure does. And what you're doing, the gift, one of the gifts that you're giving is you're modeling what's possible.
Yeah,
And that's such a powerful principle is when you're in your light, when you're in your center and you're just communicating your truth and who you are,
yeah,
that gives other people permission to see, oh my God, that's possible. Look at what she came to the other side of and realized, wow, I'm still me. I'm whole and light and amazing. And I
yeah,
want to share this. And so not only that, but also as a mom, you're doing that for your children. That's one of the greatest gifts I think we can give our kids is showing them that they have this light too, and they can be confident in just who they are.
yes, it's the authentic confidence because I can see that your dad gave that to you, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
even though when you got to that place, you felt a little off, there
Yes,
was, I know in your heart there's a big level of appreciation and gratitude for your dad for showing
absolutely.
you that, hey, son, you may not have to do this forever, but I'm
Yeah,
teaching you something, I'm gifting you something, I'm putting you in the presence of people that
very
can help
much.
you see that what you can do can grow into something great for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I always, honestly, what I always appreciated from him because when he did get elected, he was so busy. I didn't get to see him much after six. And that was really tough because in my first 6 years, he was around all the time and he was a
Right.
great dad. So, but he was always trying to, I knew that he was trying to give me some gifts from the place that he was and kind of do the best he could with what he had. So I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Oh, you said something so great. I got to write that now too. Giving gifts, giving gifts from the place that you are in.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. That's so powerful. Oh my gosh. You're great.
All right, back at you.
You're great. Okay. Like you are great because oftentimes we don't move forward in confidence because we feel like we need more. I need more answers.
Yes.
I need more
Yes.
validation from others. I need
Yes.
more money. I need
Right.
more of these things. And while those
Yes.
things may be important, you
Yes.
move forward in purpose by
Yes.
giving gifts from the place that you're in. That's where the true, authentic confidence lies.
Exactly. Well, and what you said about more, very often people, that becomes a core belief that they're not enough. And so more becomes a trap. And the truth is that yeah, as a new mom, you hold your baby, it's like you're perfect. Right
Yeah.
now, you're perfect. And part of your job as a mom, as a parent, is to say, I love you for who you are, just that you're breathing and you're here, you're perfect. So there's no enough. You don't have to do more. Now, we're going to work on you and your skillfulness in life. So we're going to get you to clean up your room and do your homework and be polite to people and do all that stuff. But also fundamentally, I love you. I ain't going anywhere. I'm your mom, and you're a gift every day just for existing. We
Yeah.
we kind of forget that. We tend to lean into the discipline part, but we forget the I love you and you're perfect just for existing part.
Yeah. Just for existing. This is great. I have one more question for the people.
Yeah, please.
So, when we say taking care of yourself across the board,
Hmm.
what would you define as the board?
To me, the board is I've I tend to take it into about seven different areas. And so that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, career, and our relationships. And so again, when I'm coaching somebody or in the course that I've built, we look at how do you take care, are you taking care of your physical health? Are you getting enough water, food, sleep, exercise, all that? Are
Right?
you taking care of your emotional side? Are you checking in with yourself? Are you journaling or are you meditating? What inspires you? And then what's your energy around your finances? Are you on purpose as your career? And are you loving it? Are you living your purpose in your career? And if not, why not? Let's change it because it's certainly possible.
Right.
And then finally, relationships. Do you have a significant other? And what's that relationship? And can that be living your purpose?
Yeah.
I've had multiple relationships in my life, and I've been married for 10 years, and it took me a while to find my person. But now I fully believe that it's possible to have that love where someone just loves you for you. And there's nothing like it.
I'm gonna call my husband when I get off the Zoom call and be like, "Babe,
Awesome.
I just love the fact that you love me for me," and which he really does.
Yes.
Like,
To me, there's no greater gift than being
no.
just loved for you.
Yes. This was so great.
Oh my God, yes.
This
Thank you. Thank you.
This was so great. Your mindset is so powerful, and you exude this energy of um passion and purpose
Thank
to
you.
really help others and guide others through just life experiences that you've been through. And when that's authentic, it feels so right. And I'm so happy that we were able to collab on this call and
Me too.
tell the people how they can connect with you, please.
So, my website is charlesrose.coach, and I'd like to offer the audience a kind of a quick 5-minute personal assessment. I have a quiz, so they can go to charlesrose.coach/quiz, and then that will start to show you, well, what area might you want to focus on first? What's the first place you should look at? And then that will
Mm,
take them to, I've got a list of meditations that I sell, a pack of meditations that are routines. So it's like if you're busy in the morning and you want to do some meditation and gratitudes and visualization of your day, we do that all in like 8 minutes. And so that's one offering. And then another is a course where I take you through all of the tools that I use in my one-on-one coaching.
yeah.
So I would invite your peeps to come check it out.
Yes, I'm telling you, this message is so evergreen. So if you guys are listening and tuning into this podcast episode in 2024, today is June the 26th, 2024. If you're listening right now, or whether you're listening years in advance, Charles was powerful. Okay. So there's no better time to connect with him than, the space that you're already in right now. And so, again, I thank you so much, audience. I thank you so much, Charles, for
You.
tuning into this message of us taking care of yourself across the board.
Thank you so much, Breye'l.
You're welcome. Alrighty. We'll see you later, audience.